Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now May 29th of 2025, and given that the Meghan Markle drama and the overall backlash that's been going on for the past several months is only getting worse over time.
Who dealt with Meghan Markle, who directly served Meghan Markle on long-haul flights, have told me directly that she was a complete to them. That she treated the staff absolutely appalling.
Harry and Meghan just heartless bullies when it comes to their staff.
Meghan Markle puts this woman up to do this, gives her a handwritten note, because we of course know that Princess Diana used to be a huge she used to handwrite notes, thank you notes all the time, and thank letters. So even in that, she has to copy Princess Diana. It's quite creepy, actually, you know.
Netflix is panicking. Meghan Markle is spiraling, and a quiet internal investigation has just exploded into one of the most humiliating scandals the streamer has ever faced. What began as a routine review of With Love Meghan Season 2 has now turned into a full-scale creative theft probe, one that threatens to derail Meghan's last standing project in Hollywood. Executives behind closed doors are stunned. Multiple sources say entire scenes were lifted, dialogue, hand gestures, even the exact food, from hit reality shows like Hell's Kitchen, Jersey Shore, and Survivor. And that's just the beginning. As Meghan tries to spin it all as mere inspiration, Netflix has already begun scrubbing episodes, rewriting storylines, and planning emergency reshoots. Ted Sarandos, the executive once pushing for Meghan's comeback, is reportedly silent, while Greg Peters, Netflix's other co-CEO, is leading the internal charge. With Season 2 now delayed, fans walking away, and Meghan reportedly lashing out behind the scenes, insiders say this may be her last shot at staying in the industry. What Netflix discovered was never supposed to leak. But the truth is out, and Meghan's empire may be crumbling faster than anyone expected. When Meghan Markle first signed her multi-million-dollar deal with Netflix, insiders saw it as a calculated comeback. After her failed podcast venture with Spotify and the lukewarm reception to her earlier projects, this was supposed to be her redemption arc, an opportunity to reshape her public image through original, intimate storytelling. But from the very beginning, the production of With Love Meghan Season 2 was reportedly anything but smooth. Netflix executives were split. Ted Sarandos, who had backed Meghan from the start, allegedly greenlit her proposals with minimal resistance, while Greg Peters, the other co-CEO, voiced concern over mounting production issues. Behind the scenes, crew members began noticing signs of disorganization, reshoots being scheduled with little explanation, and scripts that felt oddly familiar. Meanwhile, Meghan was said to be pushing hard for a third season before Season 2 even finished post-production, a move that raised eyebrows internally. Her urgency, according to multiple sources, came from growing anxiety over her fading relevance in Hollywood and her fear of becoming too controversial for major platforms. But those concerns would soon escalate into something far more damaging. Because as Netflix reviewed raw footage from the upcoming season, they didn't just find creative inconsistencies, they found scenes that looked eerily similar to famous moments from other popular reality shows. And that's when the quiet whispers of doubt turned into formal complaints and internal flags, triggering a full-scale creative review that would uncover more than anyone was prepared for. The deeper Netflix dug into the raw footage of With Love Meghan Season 2, the more alarming the findings became. It wasn't just vague inspiration or coincidental overlap, it was scene-for-scene replication, down to camera angles and exact lines of dialogue. Episode 4 raised the first red flag when producers recognized a heated exchange between cast members that mirrored a well-known confrontation from Hell's Kitchen starring Gordon Ramsay. According to insiders, Meghan's team had used nearly identical wording from a segment where contestants were grilled under pressure and passed it off as original writing. At first, some executives assumed it was a one-off mistake, perhaps a scriptwriter trying to emulate the energy of hit reality shows. But once they scrutinized Episode 7, it became impossible to dismiss. 3 different scenes, including a dramatic beachside moment and a chaotic dinner table clash, were found to copy beats from Jersey Shore. Hand gestures, facial expressions, speech patterns, and even background dialogue lifted almost frame for frame. That's when Netflix's legal and creative teams launched a quiet but aggressive audit of the remaining episodes. The findings got worse with each pass. A Malibu beach sequence involving Meghan and her friends was confirmed to be strikingly similar to a tribal challenge scene from Survivor, down to the pacing of dialogue, group dynamics, and emotional reveals. Suddenly, what was supposed to be an edgy, royal-branded docu-reality series began to look like a poorly camouflaged mashup of other shows. At this point, panic set in at the executive level, not only because of the reputational risk, but because releasing plagiarized content could spark lawsuits, licensing issues, and massive subscriber backlash. And Meghan's response to the probe? It didn't help. Instead of cooperating with the investigation or acknowledging the mounting evidence, Meghan reportedly went on the offensive. Multiple sources inside Netflix say she was livid when confronted with side-by-side comparisons of her show and the originals it allegedly copied. Rather than accepting fault or proposing creative fixes, she allegedly called the review a witch hunt, accusing Netflix executives, especially Greg Peters, of singling her out unfairly. She insisted the scenes in question were homages or inspired moments, not plagiarism, and pushed back hard against any suggestion that she had crossed a creative line. Meanwhile, Netflix producers were documenting every instance of what they considered content theft, some even circulating private memos detailing timestamps and dialogue matches from Hell's Kitchen, Jersey Shore, Survivor, and even Pamela Anderson's lesser-known cooking show. One shocking discovery involved a sequence in which Meghan and her guests prepared an identical dish from Pamela's show, using the same presentation style and script wording. Insiders claim that Meghan argued this was a coincidence and that there are only so many ways to make risotto on camera, but that excuse fell flat. In high-level meetings, Greg Peters allegedly pushed for immediate action, warning Ted Sarandos that airing the season as is could open Netflix up to legal threats and creative credibility damage. Ted, who had long defended Meghan's vision, began to distance himself quietly, giving the green light to reshoots while staying publicly silent. Meghan, meanwhile, took the move personally, interpreting it as betrayal from an ally. Her mood on set reportedly soured, with some crew members describing her as unhinged and in denial. And as the scandal gained traction internally, whispers of other studios pulling back from future deals with Meghan started circulating across Hollywood. The fallout escalated quickly. As the audit continued, Netflix's creative team uncovered even more disturbing patterns, scenes not just lifted from reality TV shows, but styled to mimic entire aesthetics of other franchises. According to internal reports, Episode 6 of With Love, Meghan allegedly included lighting schemes, wardrobe choices, and camera blocking eerily similar to The Real Housewives, a style that was so specific, Netflix producers flagged it immediately. But the most egregious case came from a cooking segment in Episode 8, where not only were the recipes taken from Pamela Anderson's Cooking with Love, but the exact plating, table layout, and even Meghan's spoken introductions matched nearly word for word. Industry veterans reviewing the footage reportedly called it embarrassingly obvious and warned that any legal review could classify it as willful infringement. In response, Netflix took the drastic step of halting post-production on the entire season and ordering sweeping reshoots, which had originally been scheduled for just a few weeks. Now, with at least 7 weeks of corrective filming required, insiders say the project has ballooned in cost and become an internal embarrassment for the platform. Meghan, reportedly blindsided by how quickly support evaporated, is said to be furious at both the production team and Netflix leadership. She's privately alleging bias and discrimination, claiming she's being treated more harshly because of her status as a former royal and a woman of color. Yet, within Netflix's executive circles, the narrative is very different. Greg Peters allegedly told colleagues this isn't about identity. It's about professional integrity and whether or not the streamer can stand behind content that's been exposed as derivative. And while Meghan remains defiant, blaming everything from jealousy to double standards, the reality is this. Her credibility with Netflix is unraveling, and it's happening faster than anyone could have predicted. What Meghan may not have anticipated was just how quickly her own fanbase would begin turning on her. As word of the creative probe leaked into industry gossip columns and entertainment news outlets, the reaction online was swift and brutal. Viewers who had once defended her projects began posting side-by-side video comparisons showing copied scenes, and hashtags like "Nutter Meghan copied." That and "Another Netflix mess" began trending across social platforms. Reddit threads, TikTok reaction videos, and even Instagram fan pages started questioning not just her originality, but her honesty. One former supporter wrote, "I wanted to believe she was misunderstood, but this is just lazy and embarrassing." The damage didn't stop there. Former Netflix collaborators started coming forward anonymously, describing the "with love" Meghan said as chaotic, disorganized, and creatively hollow. Several said Meghan was overly controlling, but seemed to rely heavily on mimicking other formats rather than crafting her own voice. As more scenes were flagged, internal reports suggested nearly half the season would require reworking to avoid potential copyright violations. Meanwhile, Meghan's personal brand was spiraling. Her once loyal followers were asking why she hadn't just credited her inspirations or hired more original writers. Some even accused her of trying to fast-track content without doing the creative work. And just as the backlash reached fever pitch, Netflix executives confirmed that all remaining episodes were being pulled from their release schedule until the reshoots were completed. What was supposed to be a flashy return to form had turned into a ticking time bomb of legal risk, public relations disasters, and growing suspicion that Meghan's Hollywood career might not just be stalled, it could be permanently damaged. Behind the scenes, the crisis was triggering ripple effects far beyond Netflix. Word of the investigation spread quickly across the industry, and other studios began quietly backing away from Meghan Markle. According to insiders, Amazon MGM, which had previously been in talks with her about a lifestyle reality show, has since shelved the concept indefinitely. HBO, once rumored to be considering a docuseries pitch, has reportedly blacklisted her from all active development discussions. Executives fear that any project attached to Meghan may now carry too much baggage, too much controversy, too much legal exposure, and too much risk of audience rejection. Even talent agencies are said to be reevaluating their relationship with her, unsure of how to manage the fallout or what direction her career could possibly take next. And the timing couldn't be worse. With Netflix now budgeting for nearly 2 months of reshoots, an unprecedented move for a project that was already over budget, Meghan's team is scrambling to hold on to whatever goodwill remains. But the industry response has been ice cold. One studio executive allegedly remarked, "If this had been anyone else, the deal would have been canceled already." Ted Sarandos, who once championed Meghan's vision, has gone quiet, while Greg Peters continues to push for tighter quality control measures going forward. Meghan, for her part, has started telling close allies that she may have to fund her own projects moving forward, even considering digital-only releases on platforms like YouTube. But without studio distribution, marketing budgets, or PR machinery behind her, the chances of a successful bounce back are shrinking by the day. And as every week passes, more evidence of creative misconduct is reportedly surfacing, making it increasingly difficult for anyone to justify working with her again. As the scandal deepens, even Meghan's inner circle is reportedly losing faith. According to leaks from close to the production, some members of her creative team have begun distancing themselves, quietly removing affiliations from LinkedIn and scrubbing their portfolios of any connection to With Love Meghan. What's worse, several insiders say Meghan is now micromanaging every aspect of the reshoots, clashing with directors, pushing back on script changes, and refusing to accept that the show's integrity has been compromised beyond repair. Meanwhile, Netflix's internal damage control team is working overtime, trying to ensure that the scandal doesn't overshadow the platform's upcoming summer slate. Ted Sarandos is said to be deeply embarrassed by how the project spiraled under his watch, while Greg Peters is using the controversy as justification for pushing stricter review protocols across all unscripted content. But for Meghan, this isn't just about one show, it's about her entire Hollywood viability. With Spotify cutting ties, Amazon ghosting her pitches, and now Netflix publicly gutting her most high-profile series, the path forward is vanishing. Reports suggest she's already floated the idea of self-funding a new reality show through her personal production label. But without major backing or a platform willing to distribute it, the odds of success are slim. Former allies in the entertainment press who once gave her glowing coverage are now questioning her judgment. And perhaps most damning of all, her own fans are expressing exhaustion, with some saying this scandal has made it impossible to defend her anymore. The narrative has shifted. Meghan Markle is no longer being seen as the underdog battling media bias. She's now viewed, even by some supporters, as someone who may have overplayed her hand one too many times. At this point, even Netflix seems to be quietly preparing for a total collapse of the project. While no official cancellation has been announced, internal documents reportedly show that the platform is scaling back all marketing budgets related to With Love, Meghan, and reallocating resources to less controversial content. Industry analysts say it's the clearest signal yet that Netflix is washing its hands of the series. In meetings, executives are reportedly referring to the situation as a sunk cost, with no expectation of meaningful returns, either financially or reputationally. What was once billed as a major tentpole for their reality division has now become an internal case study in brand damage and unchecked creative freedom. And outside Netflix, the media has begun speculating whether Meghan's entire deal might be quietly terminated after the reshoots conclude. Rumors are swirling that even if Season 2 is eventually released, it may be quietly buried on the platform with little fanfare. No trailer, no press tour, no promotional interviews. Meanwhile, Meghan herself has gone mostly silent in public, issuing no formal statements and retreating from media appearances. Some say she's regrouping, while others believe she's simply overwhelmed by the scope of the fallout. And with more whistleblowers allegedly preparing to speak out about the show's behind-the-scenes chaos, the worst may still be ahead. What began as a bold content experiment has turned into a cautionary tale, and Meghan Markle, once seen as a media disruptor, is now facing the very real possibility of being shut out of the very industry she fought so hard to break into. In the end, what began as a high-stakes return to the spotlight has turned into a public unraveling that even Meghan Markle may not recover from. The Netflix deal that once symbolized creative freedom and personal reinvention is now synonymous with controversy, confusion, and alleged creative theft. Her second season, meant to rewrite her narrative, may never fully see the light of day, and her relationships with major platforms are in shambles. What's left is a trail of broken partnerships, silenced supporters, and a growing industry-wide reluctance to work with her again. And as the reshoots drag on, as the whispers grow louder, and as more insiders step forward with new revelations, one question lingers. Was this the result of mismanagement, entitlement, or something much more deliberate? Meghan may still insist she's the victim of a biased system, but with trust eroded and opportunities vanishing, it's becoming harder for even her most loyal defenders to ignore the cracks. What happens next could either mark the end of her Hollywood chapter or the beginning of a much darker one still unfolding.